We're joined by Prashant Jain, Joint MD and Chief Executive Officer of JSW Energy. Thank you for giving us the time to speak to you on the announcement of your quarterly results. So the first question then, your profit grew by nearly 194%. What were the factors that contributed to that, and how do you see the growth ahead?
So primarily it was because of the higher generation as well as the improvement in the dark spread. Dark spread improved primarily because of the internal efficiencies, because we reduced our auxiliary power consumption. Also, we reduced our specific heat rate, and so that improved our dark spread. On top of it, our interest cost went down by close to 13%. So we have been really deleveraging our balance sheet consistently. So because of which, our EBITDA improvement was by 20%, but profit after tax went up by 212%.
Talking about the debt picture then, you have been able to improve your debt to equity ratio to 0.9 in this quarter. Going forward, by how much do you look to reduce it at the end of the year and in the medium term as well?
So we have been reducing because we have not been finding any growth opportunity so far. So as long as we don't find a right match, it will continue to deleverage. So, but our preference is that we find a right opportunity to grow our balance sheet, and I am more confident that in next 12 months there will be more consolidation in the industry than what we have seen in last 12 months. So the best choice for us is to grow, but otherwise we will be continuously deleveraging.
I'll talk about consolidation in a while, but staying on the financials for a bit now. There were some overhangs, especially because of the higher fuel cost, and that is mainly because you have more of thermal segment than the renewable bit. How do you see the costs of either fuel or the rupee fluctuations impacting the business going forward? And do you see any these pressures would sustain or would, in fact, reduce your margins by the end of the year?
Two things. One is we have increased our PPA portfolio from 63% to 80.5% in last 1.5 years. In our PPA, all our fuel cost is passed through. So be it the coal price or the dollar exchange fluctuation, so both are passed through. So in the PPA we remain insulated from any fluctuation in the fuel price. Second thing comes for the merchant portfolio, where in both sides it is open. However, the merchant prices have been consistently improving. So if you look at 2016-17, it was 2 rupees 42 paisa, then it went to 3 rupees 26 paisa in last year. Current year it is 4 rupees 8 paisa. So that is improving. Other side, we have been consistently doing improvement in our plants. Therefore, we have reduced auxiliary power consumption, heat rates, various other efficiencies we brought up. So because of which our dark spread in the merchant market is improving. And I am confident that this dark spread is going to improve, as well as the merchant volume is also going to improve in time to come. So on both sides, we are seeing a better time ahead. There is a stable cash flow for the PPA portfolio, and we will be increasing our PPA portfolio also on the merchant side, both in terms of realization, volume, as well as dark spread. There will be incremental growth.
Can you elaborate a bit more on how you see the merchant power pricing improving? Because there was also talk on how the government will start moving to long-term contracts instead of short-term contracts instead of long-term contracts, and there are still concerns over merchant power pricing. So how do you see that entire scenario? Do you see these prices to continue to improve, or if there is a fluctuation, how does JSW insulate itself in that case?
Our preference is long-term PPAs. We do not want to operate into the merchant market. And this is a short-term phenomena, improvement in the merchant prices, because at this point of time, what exactly is happening is that there is no new capacity addition which is taking place. And whatever is the thermal capacity which is there, that is dependent on the domestic coal. As and when the demand is growing, so look at this situation, the demand is growing by 6.8%. It grew last quarter. For the year, it went up by 6.2%. on a peak demand of 167 gigawatt or a base demand of 150 gigawatt, you're talking about close to 10 gigawatt is a net demand. If you top it up with the auxiliary power consumption as well as the normative PLF of 85%, you're talking about 15-16 gigawatt of the capacity, which is more required. Now, if that capacity can be run with the additional incremental coal which is required from Coal India, if that coal is not available, then that demand needs to be met by imported coal. And that's where at that point of time people are looking at the e-auction coal or the imported coal, and then discoms are getting into the merchant market, and that is why the volume in the merchant market is going up. So as long as this situation is there, this will continue to happen. However, probably in 3-4 years time frame, we will see more and more capacity addition will be taking place, and then Coal India will be increasing the portfolio, and the renewable capacity addition will also gather the momentum. If you look at last year, renewable capacity addition was 21 gigawatt. This year, the target was 22, till date it is 5.3 gigawatt. So if the capacity will not come, if the coal is not there, then you have to resort to the merchant volume, and merchant volume will drive up the higher prices because you are importing higher coal. So it's a short-term phenomena or medium-term phenomena, which I'm talking about 2 to 4 year perspective. I'm not talking about the long-term perspective that prices will be continuously going up.
But do you see the dependence on coal, and now that the domestic coal may fall short in supply and the companies will have to import it, do you see that will lead to any pressure on the margins in the medium term, talking about the 3-4 year picture that you're giving us?
So prices are going up more than the fuel price. So that's why I'm saying the dark spread is increasing.
Talking about the growth outlook then, how do you see JSW growing by the end of the year and in the medium term?
So we are a growth-oriented company, and we are quite hungry about our growth. But we have been looking at the right opportunities because we feel there is enough capacity in the sector which is available for acquisition, and I'm more confident that there will be more consolidation in next 12 months than what we have seen in last 24 months.
You said there would be some announcements in this quarter, especially on the side of the expansion. Was that to do more with the stressed assets and the resolution process that is going on, or are there other inorganic assets that you're looking to acquire or grow into? Give us a picture on that, on how that's going to happen.
No, that I talked about in reference to electric vehicle space. But for power space, we are consistently looking for the opportunity, and we have been working. As and when we finalize any opportunity, we will be certainly talking about that.
How soon would that be, and what are the kind of assets, if we had to prioritize? You're looking into hydro, you're looking into stressed assets as well. For some of the companies, what would be the priority there? What would be some of the best fit for the company right now?
Any low-cost power, is the best fit for us, because we feel that any asset where we can produce power at a very low cost and supply to the consumer at low cost will entail the merit order dispatch. We will be getting preference on that, and is the single most important criteria for us. And we find some of the assets are fulfilling that criteria for us, and we are quite upbeat about it. As and when the resolutions is happening, because there are some assets which are getting resolved, looking at resolution within the NCLT, and some are outside the NCLT. So we are looking at both the sides. So anywhere we find a greater fit, we will be certainly doing that.
On the renewable energy bit, what is the interest there? Is IL&FS one of the assets that you've bid for? And what are some of the other assets that you'd keep reviewing or evaluating?
So I don't want to comment on any specific opportunity. It's safe to assume that we continuously look at various assets. But as I said, that any asset, whether it is in renewable or in thermal space, if it is having a low cost power, we are interested in that.
So in terms of capacity then, what is the kind of expansion that you're looking at by the end of this year or in the medium term? You may give an outlook for any of those. And how much of that would be organic and how much of that would be inorganic?
Organic is, I think, very limited, because we feel that there is enough capacity available for the consolidation. So in case of organic, we are only looking at our Kutihar hydro project, which we want to start the construction, and we have been in discussion with certain discoms for PPA tie-up, and the discussions are in advanced stage, and we are quite hopeful about starting that project very soon. And inorganically, we do not have any kind of a number in mind, but I'm very confident that because given the size of our balance sheet and the healthiness of our balance sheet, we have enough appetite, and we will not hesitate to grow very rapidly in case the right time comes and right opportunity is coming in front of us.
Any internal timeline in that case?
No timeline, nothing like that. No, we don't want to put gun to our head for growth, because infrastructure space you have to be very cautious, because you have to be very careful in selection of the assets.
One last question on the electric vehicle side. We had discussed in an earlier question how you are about to come with some announcements during this quarter. What can we see there? You're looking at passenger vehicles. There are some problems that still persist, especially on the infrastructure bit. How do you see this space, and by when would JSW be able to come out with something substantial within electric vehicles?
So, why I've been saying about this quarter, because, everybody has been asking us about our plans and everything, and we have not announced any concrete plans. So we have been working on various, whether it is plant strategy, product strategy, and our launch strategy. We have been working on putting all those pieces together. And so I'm quite confident that during this quarter we will be coming out with some proposal and some plan, so that we can answer some of your questions which we have not been answering for last couple of quarters.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jain, for speaking to Bloomberg Quint.